she'll listen closely. When darkness wraps the world and dreams begin to stir, you've arrived at the right place. Welcome to Between Dreams and Shadows, the sanctuary of stories that live between sleep and the unknown. Here, every tale is more than a story. It's a portal to hidden worlds, forgotten secrets, whispers from beyond, and shadows that speak as your eyes begin to close. If you're drawn to mysteries, haunting legends, and stories that send shivers down your spine, this channel is your new nighttime ritual. Before we begin, I invite you to become part of this growing nightbound community. Subscribe now, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a tale. New stories drop regularly, always under the veil of night. Like this video if you enjoy that chill before sleep. It helps this channel grow and lets me bring you deeper, darker stories. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had a strange dream? Or felt something watching in the dark? Your experience might inspire the next tale now. Take a deep breath, turn off the lights, leave the world behind, and get ready to drift between dreams and shadows, setting the atmosphere. Only dream of it when the house is silent, not the kind of silence you get when everyone is asleep, or when the lights are off and the hum of the refrigerator is the only sound alive in the dark. No, this silence feels older than the walls around me. It arrives like fog, slow and deliberate, slipping through the cracks of the night as if summoned by something waiting just beyond comprehension. My name is May. I live alone in a small second-floor apartment just outside the city. The walls are thin enough to hear my neighbor's dog scratching at the floor. Yet for the past 3 nights, everything has gone unnaturally still, like even the dog has forgotten how to bark. It always begins around 2:13 a.m. I wake up without knowing why. There's no sound, no sudden light, no nightmare I can remember. I just open my eyes and stare at the ceiling, heart pounding softly, like it knows something my mind doesn't. The moonlight outside paints the room in a thin silver wash, and the air is cold not from the temperature, but from something else. An absence, a void. That's when I feel it. The certainty that I'm being watched, not from the window, not from the hallway, from somewhere far stranger inside the room, in a place that shouldn't exist. My dreams have changed too. I used to have the usual flickering scenes, old memories, impossible moments, surreal landscapes. But now there's only one. A place I've never seen in waking life, but it feels intimately familiar. It appears the moment my eyes close. Not like a dream I fall into, but a room I return to. It's always the same, a corridor of pale gray stone, stretching endlessly in both directions. The walls are uneven, as if chiseled by hand, and the air hums with something alive. Something that doesn't breathe, but still waits. I can't remember walking into it. I just find myself there, barefoot and still, listening to the quiet press against my skull, like invisible fingers. There are no lights, yet I can see no doors, yet I feel I could be pulled through one at any moment. And always there's that feeling that something is just beyond the edge of sight, watching me without eyes, studying me with intent. Back in the waking world, I try to shake it off. I tell myself it's stress, or some side effect of insomnia. But the details linger. I find myself sketching the stone patterns on napkins, tracing the curves of cracks I've never touched. I've started avoiding mirrors at night. There's a moment, just a sliver of one, when my reflection doesn't quite match what I'm doing. Something is off, slight, unspoken. I haven't told anyone. It would sound ridiculous, paranoid, melodramatic. Yet even now, as I write this with the window open and the cool night breeze brushing against my skin, I can feel it, the hum just beyond hearing, the gaze just beyond vision. Something is lurking at the edge of my life, and worse, it wants to be known. The first signs of disturbance, it started with the lamp. 3 nights ago, I left it on, something I never do, but I'd grown uneasy with the dark, as though whatever lived in my dreams might finally learn how to follow me out. I remember distinctly twisting the old brass switch and watching the warm yellow glow pool over the nightstand. I even took a picture before bed, trying to reassure myself that nothing was out of place. But when I woke, the lamp was off. Not just off and plugged. The cord lay limp on the floor, inches from the outlet. I stared at it, heart ticking in my throat, the cool morning light exposing the slight drag mark in the dust where it had been pulled. I told myself I must have done it in my sleep. A twitch, a kick, nothing more. But the idea didn't sit right. I always sleep curled tight, tucked into myself like a frightened animal. The next night, the picture frame on my dresser was tilted, not askew, like it had been bumped, but rotated exactly 45 degrees, as if someone had stood there, studied it, and deliberately set it that way. The frame held a photo of my parents. They died when I was 12, a car crash. I don't look at the photo often, but now it looked at me. I straightened it with trembling fingers, then spent the rest of the evening watching the room like it might. Flinched it didn't. Not until the shadows moved. It was subtle at first, easy to blame on headlights outside or tricks of the eye. But when the shadows lingered after their supposed source had vanished, when they paused mid-motion, as if reconsidering whether to be seen, I could no longer deny it. They weren't reacting to light. They were reacting to me. That same night, I noticed a smudge on the hallway wall. Dark, long, almost like a finger had trailed across the white paint. I wiped it away, but the next morning, it returned slightly longer, slightly deeper. I measured it. 12 inches, then 14, then 16. It's not a smudge anymore. It's a line, drawn by something every time I close my eyes now. I hear my breath catching in the dream corridor. I feel the air pulse, low and resonant, like it's holding something just beneath the surface, waiting for me to step deeper. My footsteps echo there now. I never heard them before, but I'm not the only one walking. There's a second echo, softer, delayed by just a heartbeat. I've stopped sleeping fully. The moments between wake and dream blur like fog on glass. I find myself unsure of whether I ever left that corridor, or whether I just brought it back with me. Reality is becoming loose, not crumbling, just tilting like a house built on soil, too soft to hold it. And at night, I find myself staring at the corner of the ceiling, where shadow gathers unnaturally. My eyes drift there on their own, and I swear just for a fraction of a second I can see something shift, not move. Shift like it was never part of this world to begin with. The sound that shouldn't exist last night. I heard it. A sound that didn't belong not to this apartment, not to this city, not to anything I can explain with waking logic. It came after midnight, when the moon had risen high enough to cast silver blades through the blinds. I was lying still, eyes wide open, listening to the usual creaks and sighs of old walls, settling. Then it began. A hum, not loud, not even steady. It floated in and out of hearing, like it was slipping between dimensions. A low vibration, felt more in the bones than the ears, resonating from somewhere behind the walls. It didn't come from the street, or the neighbors, or anything with an engine. It was alive. It carried weight, intention. I froze. I didn't dare move, afraid that acknowledging the sound would give it permission to notice me, but it already had. I could tell by the way it shifted, not in pitch, but in focus. As though it had angled itself toward me, the humming became rhythmic, almost like breathing. Inhale, pause, exhale. I squeezed my eyes shut, counted to 10, but then I heard it again this time, closer, whispers, so faint they barely existed. So delicate they might have been imagined, if not for the fact that they seemed to know my name. May, not shouted, not spoken, just suggested, like a breeze threading syllables through the cracks of an old church. It wasn't a voice I recognized. It wasn't even singular. There were layers to it, like a chorus of hushed murmurs, speaking over one another. blending into a sound that no human throat could replicate. I thought I was dreaming again, but I was awake. I stared at the ceiling, hands curled into fists, nails biting into palms. When I glanced at the digital clock, it read 2:13 a.m. exactly, just like always. I got up, slowly, forcing my body to move through the paralysis of fear. I tiptoed to the living room, expecting silence. But there it was, again, the humming, now louder, now underneath me. I crouched near the heating vent. That's where it seemed strongest. I pressed my ear to it and held my breath. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, through the thin metal grating, a laugh, high-pitched, childlike. It made no sense. No children live in this building. None that I've ever seen or heard. The laugh wasn't playful, was mocking, hollow, a sound meant to resemble innocence, but warped by something that didn't understand what innocence was supposed to feel like. I jerked back, almost fell. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Now, the hum follows me. I hear it faintly even during the day, woven between the sounds of traffic and distant sirens. It's quiet, like it knows it doesn't need to be loud anymore. It knows I've heard it. I tried recording it with my phone. At 2:13 a.m., I held it up to the vent and hit record. When I played it back this morning, the audio was mostly static except, for precisely 5 seconds, the waveform spiked, and in that moment, you can hear it. A whisper, faint but clear, right against the mic. "You're almost ready." I dropped the phone. It landed face up, the screen still playing. But the whisper didn't repeat. Only the static remained. The presence, without a face there, is a space in my apartment now that I do not go near. Not because I'm afraid of what's in it, but because I'm terrified there may be nothing at all. It's the far corner of my bedroom, diagonally across from the bed. There's no furniture there, no outlet, no purpose for the space. It's just empty, and yet every time I look at it, my body stiffens, like it remembers something my mind is too afraid to hold. That's where I feel it most. Not see, not hear, feel the presence. It's not a figure, not a silhouette, not even a shadow. It's an awareness dense and cold and precise, as if a pair of eyes hover there, always open, always locked on me, not blinking, not breathing, just watching. When I sleep, I turn away from that corner, but I still sense the gaze, reaching like a cold fog across the bedspread, wrapping around my ribs, coiling at the base of my skull. I wake up facing the corner anyway, head turned, spine twisted, like I've been positioned that way, like something wants me to look. I don't, I can't. But things keep moving, little things, meaningless objects. At first thought the first was a coin, an old, tarnished quarter that appeared on my bathroom sink. I don't use change, haven't touched a coin in months, but there it sat, wet, as if it had just been placed there by a hand still dripping. Then it was my toothbrush, turned bristles down into the cup, which I never do. Then, the most unnerving of all, my bedroom closet door. I always keep it closed, always. But 2 nights ago, I found it ajar, just an inch, just enough to see the darkness inside and imagine something waiting. Crouched, smiling without a mouth, I closed it without looking in. The next morning, it was open again. A little more this time, 2 inches. I've stopped touching it. I leave it alone, but I feel it watching, just like the corner, just like the dream corridor. Even the air feels changed. It's not just cold anymore, it's thick, like walking through syrup, like the oxygen carries weight. My limbs feel slower in certain rooms, especially the bedroom, especially when I'm alone. I tried burning sage. I tried music. I even tried prayer, though I haven't believed in anything for years. None of it worked. The feeling didn't just stay, grew, and now I hear my name whispered from places I know are empty. In the refrigerator's low WHIR, in the hush of water draining from the sink, even in the hum of the light bulb above the mirror. May. Always in that voice. Thin, curious, familiar, but not human. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection in the mirror, it doesn't look right. There's a delay, a flicker, a moment where the face looking back at me seems uncertain, like it's waiting for instructions. I don't trust it anymore. I cover the mirrors now, but the reflection finds other ways to come through: shadows on the walls, faint imprints on glass. I saw a handprint on my window this morning. From the inside, the fingers were too long, the palm was too small. It was never mine. The unspoken warning last night. Something changed. Not a loud event, not a jump scare or a scream. Just a shift, a quiet one, but no less terrifying. It began the same as always. I woke up at exactly 2:13 a.m., the air around me dense, humming with that familiar presence. The corner of the room seemed darker than ever, as if light had forgotten how to exist there. I tried not to look, keeping my gaze locked on the ceiling, but something moved. Not a person, not an object, a pattern, on the wall, on the floor, in the silence itself. It was like the room had inhaled and left me behind. I sat up slowly. The humming in the walls had returned, but it wasn't random anymore. It pulsed in short bursts, long, short, short, long, then pause, then repeat. I didn't realize what it was at first, but I remembered the cadence. Morse code. I opened my phone, hands trembling, and searched the pattern. Do not look back. I dropped the phone. The message made no sense, but it also made too much sense. The weight in the corner of the room felt closer, like it had shifted forward slightly. Invading a space it never had before. My instincts told me to run, but something else, something deeper, told me to sit still, so I did. The air began to vibrate softly, like a tuning fork struck far away. The pattern changed. The message repeated itself, again and again. Do not look back. I covered my ears. It didn't help. The sound wasn't entering through my ears. It was already inside me then. I noticed the floor, not visibly, not physically, but I felt it. Beneath the carpet, beneath the wood, something pulsed, something alive, like veins, like breath. The corridor from my dreams was underneath me, and it was listening. I whispered into the darkness, "What do you want?" Nothing answered, but the hum stopped. That, somehow, was worse. The stillness that followed was perfect and natural, like the entire building had been suspended in time, and only I remained moving. I waited in that silence for what felt like an hour, and then, the lights in my kitchen turned on. No flicker, no buzz, just a quiet, deliberate click, as if flipped by an invisible hand. I stood. Every instinct in my body screamed no, but my legs moved anyway. I stepped into the hallway, each footfall muted by a thick, static pressure. The kitchen looked exactly the same. For one thing, on the counter, directly under the fluorescent light, lay a note. Plain white paper, no handwriting, just 4 typed words. It remembers you, May. I didn't write it. No one has been inside. I haven't told anyone my name, not out loud, not in weeks, not even during my dreams. Whatever this is, whatever presence hovers behind the veil of silence and sleep, it knows me, not just my name. Me. It's been waiting, and now, it's begun to speak. The moment of truth. I didn't sleep last night, not because I couldn't, but because I didn't dare. After the note appeared, I waited for the sun. I sat in the center of my living room, wrapped in a blanket that no longer offered warmth, staring at the kitchen light as it buzzed faintly above me. I told myself I'd stay awake until daylight, that once the sun rose, I'd go outside. Maybe I'd leave the city. Maybe I'd never return. But when dawn finally came, it brought no relief, because the moment the first pale light hit the windows, I realized something truly horrifying. The shadows hadn't moved. They should have retreated, faded, bent toward the east with the rising sun. They didn't. They stayed exactly where they'd been, all night, pooled thickly in corners, stretched unnaturally along walls that should have been bathed in light. The sunlight passed through them, like they weren't even there, or like they were more real than light itself. That was the moment. I knew this wasn't just my apartment anymore. Something had nested. Something had claimed it. Or worse, something had been summoned by me, slowly, unintentionally, through dreams and silence and fear. It had been using the corridor in my sleep as a way in. Every time I returned from that dream, it came back with me, and now it wanted me to choose, stay and face it, or leave and let it follow. I packed a bag, just the essentials: clothes, phone, keys, a picture of my parents. But as I zipped the bag closed, I heard it again, the whisper, not in the walls, not in the pipes. This time it was behind me, not a foot away. May, ... I turned, without thinking, and saw nothing, but my bag was gone, just gone. The floor was empty, my hands, too. There had been no sound, no flash, just absence. And then, as if to mock my confusion, I heard something zipped shut from the bedroom. The bag was there, back on my bed, untouched, except for one detail, inside. On top of everything I had packed, was a second photograph. It hadn't been there before. It was black and white, grainy, a hallway, the hallway from my dreams. Only this time, I wasn't alone. In it, in the far corner, partially hidden by shadow, stood a figure, tall, faceless, as though a human shape had been erased from film. It stood still, but I swear its head was tilted toward me, like it knew I was looking, like it was posing, waiting. That was the moment I understood. This was no haunting, no possession, no trick of the mind. It was an invitation, all of it. Sound, every shadow, every movement, was leading me to something, testing me, and I had a choice. I could leave the apartment, pretend this was madness, convince myself the bag had been misplaced, the photo doctored, or I could go back to sleep and walk the corridor again, deeper, further than ever before. I sat on the edge of my bed. The hum had returned. The photo trembled slightly in my hands. I turned off the lamp, and I lay down, eyes wide, breath shallow, ready. The inevitability of darkness I crossed over without dreaming. No drifting into sleep, no subtle shift into subconscious, just one blink. And I was there, the corridor. But this time, it wasn't like before. It had changed. The walls were narrower, the light more oppressive. That flickering overhead bulb had been replaced by something worse, a dim red glow, pulsing softly from behind the walls, like veins just beneath translucent skin. The air was damp thick, with a rot I couldn't place, metallic, organic. I stepped forward, barefoot on a floor that felt wrong, not solid, not wet either. It yielded slightly under my weight, like old carpet stretched over something soft and living. And then I heard it, footsteps, not my own, slow, deliberate, heavy, somewhere ahead or out a corner the corridor hadn't had before. I should have turned back, but I couldn't. This place doesn't let you retreat. Every step taken here costs you something, and I had come too far. I moved forward, guided by that impossible sound, until I reached the turn, and there it was, the door. Unlike the rest of the corridor, it was pristine, white wood, with a bronze handle that shimmered despite the absence of light. No dust, no decay, just perfection. And something was behind it, breathing. I reached for the handle. My fingers shook, hovered inches away. It was cold, but not dead, like holding the wrist of a sleeping animal. When I touched it, I felt a sudden shift inside me, as if something had clicked open. Not the door, me. And for the first time, I understood. This presence didn't want to hurt me. It wanted to merge, to make a home inside my thoughts, to use my body as a front door. I staggered back, but the corridor had changed again. There was no hallway now, no light, just a vast, open void as if I'd stepped to the edge of the world and stared into a sea of endless black. And from within that void came the laughter, low, crooked, distorted, the same childlike giggle I'd heard through the vent, now amplified into something too large, too wide, to belong to any one mouth. The faceless figure appeared again, closer now, no longer hidden in the distance of the photograph. It was here, with me, but it didn't move, didn't speak. It offered its arms opened slowly, welcoming, like a parent coaxing a child into a deadly embrace. And behind each rose, upon rows of mirrors, some broken, some pristine, but all reflecting me, dozens of versions, some smiling, some screaming, some simply staring, lifeless and hollow-eyed. And in the center mirror, I was missing. Only the corridor remained. I turned away, closed my eyes, whispered to myself, "Wake up," over and over. But I didn't wake, because I wasn't asleep. Not anymore. The fear, that Stai's eye came back. That's the part that frightens me most. Not what I saw, not what I heard, but that I returned. And nothing was broken. No scars, no burns, no blood on the walls. My apartment was exactly as I had left it. Clean, quiet, still. Except now, it was not empty. I am not alone here. The thing from the corridor, the presence, it didn't follow me back. It didn't have to. It's inside me now. I don't mean possessed. I don't hear voices. I'm not sleepwalking. But I feel it, curled behind my eyes, coiled around my spine. I see it in the corner of my vision, tall and still, waiting. I'll be brushing my teeth and catch my reflection, blinking at the wrong time. I'll hear soft footsteps in the other room, only to realize I haven't moved in hours. I'll wake up with soil under my fingernails. My phone vibrates randomly. No notifications, no missed calls, just a hum. And sometimes, when I press it to my ear, there's a faint breath on the other end. I know it's not a glitch. The corridor no longer waits for sleep. It bleeds into my days. In hallways, in subway tunnels, in alleys between buildings I've never noticed before. I've walked past an ordinary door and felt that same pulse, like something just beyond it was listening. Sometimes I think I see the figure reflected in surfaces that shouldn't reflect at all. The back of a spoon, a puddle on the sidewalk, the lens of a stranger's sunglasses. Always faceless, always still. But closer. I haven't dreamed since that night. I don't think I can anymore. Whatever dreams I had, it owns them now. And that void, that sea of black, it waits in places I can no longer avoid. The stillness in a crowded room, the silence after laughter, the pause between heartbeats. Fear has changed shape. It's not loud, it's not sharp, it's stillness. It's the unspoken understanding that something has attached itself to my soul. And it doesn't want to be X or Z. It wants to exist through me. It wants to remember, and it never leaves. It waits for when I'm alone, when my guard slips, when the lights are off and the apartment is quiet and I'm lying in bed with my eyes open, too afraid to blink, because I know that if I do, when I open them again, the hallway will be there and the door will be open. Could you sleep after hearing this? What do you think really happened to May? Was it all in her mind? Or did something follow her back? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and, if you dare, explore another tale before bed. Because sometimes, the stories don't end when the screen goes dark. Sometimes, they begin with you.